Welcome to the Scaling Japan podcast. I'm your host, Tyson Bottino, and on today's episode, we have Ryosuke Murai. He is a co-founder at AI Market and is a former consultant at Bain Company and chief strategy officer at Connected Robotics. Ryo, it's really great to have you on the podcast, and could you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, thanks, Tyson, for having me. Again, hi everyone. My name is Rio. I also go by Rio. My name is Ryosuke. I am Japanese, but lived half of my life outside Japan, mainly in the UK for 6 years and the US for 8 years. My career has been mostly in consulting, where I started out as an IT consultant back in New York and LA. And then I got my master's at USC in finance, and then transitioned into strategy consulting, and I got into Bain Company in Tokyo office. After working there for several years, I switched into startup world where I got really hooked in the world. I'm still here. I worked as a chief strategy officer there, led the Series B of it, which was 17 billion Japanese yen. Also led their GTM strategy as well as implementation of it, which grew their revenue 3x in 2 years. And after working there for several years, finally decided to start my own thing and came across this idea of AI market, and now working with Tyson and another co-founder called Osama, who's a marketing genius, and we're working on it to grow in Japan.
And so, yeah, today we'll be talking about finding a co-founder. And who better to ask than someone who found me as a co-founder for a new startup? And so, yeah, so I guess kind of what set the topic for me is I think recently Antler has launched another program. And whenever Antler launches a program, I get people reaching out to me for startup advice.
Mm,
And also just, my experience being a revenue growth advisor and a paid startup mentor, I often see a lot of clients who want a co-founder, need a co-founder, or don't know they need a co-founder, but should definitely get a co-founder. And also sometimes they have problems with their co-founder, which I help with. And I realized there's not really any good content for like finding a co-founder or co-founding a business in Japan. So I thought this would be a great episode, and you're the perfect guest. And yet, so for the listeners, a full disclosure, I am a co-founder at AI Market. And yeah, I just thought it'd be really interesting to hear from someone I've partnered with as well.
yeah, sorry, I
And
spoiled it earlier.
no,
Just
it's totally
spoiler.
cool. And also, I think it's a good topic too, because for all of my businesses, other than scaling your company, they've all been joint ventures or partnerships. So with OneCoin English, I had two Japanese co-founders, Japan Switch, we had a joint venture with another company. Smart Start Japan is also a joint venture. And so, yeah, I have a lot of experience with this. And what a lot of people don't know is before Smart Start Japan, which probably a lot of you know by now, it was actually Launch Lab with a different partner who I ended up breaking up with after 4 months. But we are still great friends and still work together on projects. And so, yeah, really excited about this. And I guess last thing from me before I start asking real some questions is Ryosuke actually found me through LinkedIn. So LinkedIn, if you're listening, we can serve as like a case study that LinkedIn works. And yeah, so we can start from that. So Ro,
Yeah.
I guess so you have two co-founders from AI Market, but what made you decide to look for a co-founder?
Yeah. So initially, I actually wasn't looking for a co-founder, to be completely honest. I was testing out different ideas, and I started really exploring different business ideas, end of 2024, so like about a year ago. And then back then, it was like the time where people were saying, "Oh, it's just like the era of solopreneur. Like people can create a unicorn by themselves. Like you don't need, a lot of people as it used to be. AI is taking over the world, like et cetera, et cetera." So it's like, okay, that sounds pretty cool. Like people are, costly. Sometimes it gets messy. Sometimes it doesn't work out. So I'm gonna see if I can do a solopreneur route. I started doing that. I was testing out different ideas. But what I came to realize is that I think it's um, sort of personality thing too, but also a structural thing. It's really, I mean, AI is great at automating some of the tasks that you currently have, but when it comes to starting a new business, there's more things than just like completing some tasks. Like sometimes you want an eco brain who can bounce off ideas with. You want someone to share the joy in completing some of the, achievements, etc. And I came to realize that I really worked better with someone, not necessarily as a subordinate, but as a like equal team member. And after realizing that, I really started looking for a co-founder, started asking around and see if I can really find someone who I would be, happy working together with for the or after chasing after the same goal.
Cool. And I guess now that you have two co-founders, like I guess how has that changed your mind with like I guess the value of co-founders?
Yeah, yeah, 100%. I think what the path, choosing the path of finding and working with co-founder has been such a driver in the business. We're still early on in our growth phase where we launched a couple months back, still growing, but I don't think we would as a business we would be here where we are without you know you Tyson or Asama, to be honest. Like you both bring different strengths that I don't have. I mean, if I were doing some things, maybe things were decided faster, like move faster, etc. But
Hmm.
the whole momentum as a team is much stronger, because I have you guys. And I just like enjoy working with people a lot more. So, um, just me solo in front of the PC all the time versus like having you guys chit-chatting, having meetings, brainstorm, etc., has also kind of helped my productivity, not just the company output. So definitely been a positive result so far.
Cool. And yeah, we're gonna for the listeners, we're gonna dive very deep into finding a co-founder and just a lot of talk on this topic. But so I guess yeah, the second area we can jump into like what makes an attractive co-founder. And for me, the reason this one is a big topic is I do have a lot of people who reach out to me and
Yeah.
they're like, "Oh, I need a co-founder. Do you know, can you introduce someone?" And and sometimes it's actually hard to introduce somebody, and so it's so I think this would be a good to or like meaning like for some people I felt like I actually wouldn't feel comfortable introducing a co-founder,
Mm.
or I didn't feel like maybe their skill level could match what they're looking for. But I guess with that said, what are kind of your thoughts on what makes an attractive co-founder?
Yeah, I think so. This is also a situational thing too. Just to touch on how Tyson and I, no, Tyson and I connected first, and then the third co-founder Sama joined a little later. So in our case, I had a business idea, which is AI Market, which is basically it's an AI SaaS marketplace where we sell like overseas SaaS com products to Japanese companies. And I had that idea, and I saw Tyson's LinkedIn post looking for a co-founder accidentally, and then I contact you, and then we kind of that the rest of the story so far. But the point is that I had a business idea that I was looking to grow with. So the criteria for the specific skill sets were more defined, in my case. There are other cases where you actually just want a co-founder to work on ideas with, and in many cases, the ideas pivot a lot. Like you start with idea A, but you find out, A is not really the greatest idea, so you pivot to A dash and then B and then B dash to C. So eventually, your initial idea might be so far off from where you actually pursue as a business. So in those cases, criteria changes, right? So what's more important is like fundamental fit versus like more the skill set.
Gotcha.
And I mean, Sam Altman had a video talk somewhere, about his view on this. Is like, oh, I think one is sort of fit, and then there's aptitude, and then skills on what you look for as a great like partner, team member. And I agree with that. And where what makes an attractive co-founder is like really because you're spending a huge amount of time with high intensity, it really has to be someone you like as a person. Like you enjoy talking to, spending time with, you wouldn't mind hanging out with like on the weekends. Like so that's like one thing. And in many cases, your aspirations and goal has to be aligned too. Like one person wanting to grow a company to 1 million, and another person trying to build a unicorn in 3 years would have a completely different experience and mindset of how you work. So having that like high level alignment on what is it like what kind of person are you, what are your aspiration, what is your life priorities, what's your business aspiration. And then I think having that alignment is super important. And then it trickles down to based on the business CD or circumstances to like skill sets where I have this skill, you have that skill. We don't have that each with each other, so that would be complementary.
Cool. Yeah, and I think from personal experience with One Coin English, we definitely scaled past 1 million,
Mm,
much more past 1 million. And I would say there's four of us, and I'll say two of us were, we can handle 10 million
hmm
plus. The other two, I think they're more suited for 3 million.
mm,
And so it was, but at the beginning, like, how can we find people who would actually help us get to 3 million
yeah,
in the first place? So yeah, so it's kind of an interesting journey that where some co-founders were needed to get past the initial humps, and but you need different, let's say, but not all the co-founders is the ones who can take you to the next step.
yeah. I mean, I had a similar experience with my last company. It wasn't co-founder, but like super early employees. They were like super fit for the beginning phase, but you kind of have to grow as a business person as a company grows. So if you can't really follow that growth rate, then unfortunately there will be a time where you kind of have to split.
Yeah. And I was kind of lucky. I worked corporate before, so like when they said, "Oh, you have to manage 300 people," all right, we got to about 250, but at 350 people, it's like I've already managed 600, so
Yeah,
no problem.
right, right.
So it's cool. Any other thoughts on what makes an attractive co-founder for you?
Um, I think you really have to sell that idea or the business to people. So if you are trying to ask for people, ask like if they want to join your business, you can't really sit on the idea and hope someone just like hops on the bus where there's no certain, where there's no vision, where there's no excitement to it. So if you're the first person uh, looking to launch an idea, make sure you have those like articulated, visualized, and if you can, make sure you have some like things to show. Like it could be a prototype, it could be an aspiration video, it could be some track record where you already like did X, Y, and Z, and it's like proving something well. Um, people, unfortunately, in the real world, people just don't jump ships, from what they're like. They already have something going on in their life, right? Like either it's a full-time job or they're all working on their own thing. So if you want them to join your ship, you actually have to make it sound attractive. And that could be like vision of, this world where no one has seen before, or it could be just an interesting idea that really resonates with that person. Usually you can't provide with like monetary, attractiveness because it's a startup, you know. But like you have to show some kind of, oh, that's pretty cool. Like, let me think about it. Let me hear more about it, kind of info or I guess yeah.
I was thinking for myself. So there was, I think, about 25 people who did reach out to me. But I
Mm,
was thinking, like, if without doing due diligence, I probably only know two people. I have two friends. I've known them for 5 years. I know their
yeah.
track record. Like, maybe for the two of them, I wouldn't do any due diligence. Or if they didn't have
Mm,
like a nice slide, or it would be like, okay, I'll join you. But if it was for a stranger, yeah, I think just like you mentioned, it's like, just based on it's really the first impressions. It's like a date actually.
yeah, yeah,
Like it's that level of and the more let's say I guess the more attractive the mate you want to acquire, you get sometimes you have to do a bit more to attract them.
yeah, yeah.
And people who have options, they have people reaching out to them all the time. So like,
Right.
how do you separate yourself? And I guess before I jump into my thoughts on what makes an attractive co-founder, I guess what made me an attractive co-founder?
Yeah, I guess I never really said this to you directly, so it'll be interesting. But so I knew or I've seen you on LinkedIn through because we had like a lot of mutual connections being in like the international startup community. So I think even before I ever contacted you or connected with you, I had like 20 to 30 mutual connection on LinkedIn. Um, so that like already a good like indicator like okay it's not like a super random person that I've never seen or heard before. It's like same community. Um, I think there were two parts. There was like more, it's like kind of like job application. You have the resume screening part, which is like the, the what's on paper, and then like you meeting and the talking and the interview phase. I think overall experience was that the impression, like first impression on the resume screening part, which was like basically your LinkedIn and like whatever that you see online. Um, there was a strong fit in, well, I think the first that you were a serial entrepreneur was like a big plus, right? And then there was a lot of overlap on what you've been working on, like in terms of scaling a company to a smart start, where it was like a cross-culture, cross-border business. The One Coin English was that too. Um, and another was really what you posted on LinkedIn was like, I'm looking for these kind of ideas because X, Y, and Z kind of had explanation. And it was a pretty much a direct hit of what I was working on. I think I don't remember the exact, content, but I think it was like some kind of AI stuff, some kind of cross-border stuff, some kind of like back office or marketing automation stuff. And I think there was one or two more. And like what AI market does is basically all that. So I was like, okay, it's a good fit. So started off there, and then we actually met like a week or two later when you visited Tokyo. And throughout the conversation, I think we were pretty constructive in how we communicated. Idea was flowing, or we're pretty comfortable in the conversation. You offered like clear value proposition of what you could do, and you were also explicit on what you expect from me. So I think the overall sort of what's it called? It's like being in a virtual meeting where you're not working together, but you're kind of in a meeting for business. And you can imagine, like, I could imagine being in a meeting for a little more intense conversation, but still like being constructive and articulative of what we both think and come to a agreed conclusion.
Cool. And I guess this wasn't part of the agenda. I guess what attracted yourself to myself was I
Yeah, we'd love
think
to hear that.
yeah, I think the fact that you survived Bain for 3 years,
Yeah.
it showed me I think two things. I think one is you have to be pretty good at problem solving or pretty good at politics.
Mm.
But you didn't come off as political. So I assumed it was based on, let's say, logic and skill. If you came up very political, super charming, it's I might have probably okay, maybe this was the reason. But so I got the sense that if you could survive 3 years in Bain, your analytical skills is really sharp. And for that reason, if we were to start a company together, and even though you might not have maybe as much experience as I have in, running or scaling a company, even though you do have that experience at Connected Robotics, I thought that if I explained something to you logically, it would be a one-time conversation.
Mm.
Like we wouldn't have to go over again on this emotional point. Like you would just
Yeah.
get the logic. And so I thought we would be able to move forward really quickly because of those analytical skills and problem solving skills. The second one was also the fundraising side,
Mm.
and it was it's I think the fundraising and the financial simulation. Once you made the financial simulation, you shared it with me, and I was like, okay, thank God I don't have to do this. It's like because at one point when I took over as head of ops or basically COO, like I had to handle all the financial simulations, and it's like and people would ask me like, why are you doing it? It's like I'm unfortunately I'm better than the others at this, not because I particularly like it, but I'm good enough where I should be the one to do it. And so, And also, I think that was going to, if we decide to raise, which we don't plan to, getting, the corporate loan, like I don't even have to think about it. I can just think about marketing
Yeah.
and getting the initial sales. And so I thought that was very attractive as a co-founder for starting a company. And yeah, I think we also just kind of meshed as well. Like this guy's pretty chill, West Coast uh,
Yeah.
kind of feel, and yeah. And I think we had, I would say we probably had, I, I would say probably like 80% alignment,
Hmm.
maybe even 90%. But and I felt that because of that too, that would reduce a lot of decision friction.
Mm. Yeah.
And like I think today was a good case in point is like so I haven't talked, I haven't asked how you feel or what are your thoughts for, for like 5 days. What do you think's the next step? And you mentioned it to me. I was like, I agree 100%. Let's
Yeah.
go with it.
Yeah. Communication is pretty clear cut so far, and it's been super easy making like decisions. That's like you kind of have to make a decision on the spot, but it's not like, you got to talk for hours, but it's like, yeah, it's good.
So yeah, just reducing that decision making friction.
Yeah.
Oh, and one thing I would mention to the audience. So for AI market, we offer actually lifetime software deals. So you can buy a software on our website and you don't have to pay subscription on it moving forward. And so like you pay 6,000 yen, maybe 10,000 yen, you can use it for life. And if you can see the QR code in Ryosuke's screen, yeah, I'll point. All right, actually, it's kind of weird, but that
Yeah.
green,
Yeah. I
we
think
actually
like
use the
the switch.
software
Yeah.
called Joy QR on our platform. Is like, and you can create has our logo on top, the colors, and has a really good tracking. So Rio is actually gonna track how many people from this podcast visited our website using this QR code, and like
Yeah.
we have that can track all of that stuff. And so definitely check us out. And there's actually two AI markets, and so we'll link to our AI market, and you can just see the logo, but
Yeah. That's one.
ai-market.co.jp, and there's another one. Yep.
Yeah.
And I did want to add one more part about, let's say, what makes an attractive co-founder. And so this is something this is more, someone else came up with this kind of like framework, but
Mm.
one was founder market fit.
Mm.
And like, is this someone who can generate revenue from the target market? Like, so if you made an HR software, like,
Yeah.
can this person, are they connected with CHROs?
Yeah.
And they can get them the call, you can close the deal. So founder market fit, someone who can generate revenue. And I think in my case, I was a pretty good fit for AI market because I have a large network of small business owners and startups who could use our service. And like we launched in October, we got about 100,000 yen sales. This month we have 100,000 yen sales. And yeah, and just because I have that network, we could generate revenue quickly, and now we can reinvest that revenue into marketing. And with the third co-founder, Asama, he's has a lot of experience marketing to Japanese small businesses, and
Yep.
so that was a really good fit. And he's also both Ryosuke and Asama. They're both native speakers in English and Japanese, and I'm the only one who's not a native speaker. And so that was very, very helpful. So we can target two markets at once as well. So you got founder market fit. Then the next one is founder problem fit. Does the founder have domain and industry expertise where they're the right person to solve the problem? Like, do they really get the pain points of the customers? Do they know how to talk to the customers and help you develop the right product? And because if they don't have that domain expertise, they're going to have to learn it. And, that might take 2 to 3 years to really learn an industry. And I have seen startups where founders have entered an area where they are not an industry expert, and it has actually taken them, I think, 3 years to really understand it. So another good characteristic is founder problem fit. In my case, I deeply understand small business owners because I actually have 35 active clients. I've helped, 60 small businesses scale. And so I really know their pain points as well. And in my case too, for the lifetime software model, I've actually bought more than 50 software with a lifetime model. And I know what works. I know what countries of developers, startups you should not buy from. I know all these minute details of how to choose the right software so that let's say that the default risk is very low. And so I would say I was a pretty good founder problem fit. And the other one is founder starting fit. Does the founder have the ability to do bootstrapping? If you don't have resources, how can you adjust to that? And so a good case for Ryosuke's case is he was able to get us a government-backed loan. So in the case that, of course, I'm pretty confident we will succeed, but in the case that we can't pay back the loan, that let's say the government will back it. And it was through Ryosuke's skills, he was able to get us a very nice loan that when I told my accountant we got a 5x capital, he was like, wow, like I rarely ever see that. It's typically 2 to 3x if you get the loan.
Mm.
And so, yeah, just having Real get that initial capital, that was really huge for us. Cool. So I guess now that people know what makes an attractive co-founder, and I think no, I think it was really good that you dove into a little bit on how can you make yourself an attractive co-founder. I think that was a
Yeah.
good point that you brought up on. You joined several, finding co-founder events. You met other people who are potential co-founders, but do you have any maybe last thoughts on how to make yourself an attractive co-founder?
Um, I guess like we might touch on the next topic too, but it's kind of like as Tyson said earlier, it's like dating, where like no matter how attractive you are, you may not really find your good match until you meet certain amount of people. Um, and the kind of expect having an expectation that it's not going to happen overnight will probably be a good expectation to have. It's like dating, like you maybe it like startups, right? Like too, it's rare that your first startup succeeds. Like statistically speaking, it doesn't. So you'll probably have to go through of like similar to dating. You find someone really good, and you start dating, and you go through some events, exciting stuff, but some bad thing happened, and you have to split. And then you look for another one, and then the next person comes up. So kind of similar to that. You kind of have to spend time looking for the right person, and so yes, increase your attractiveness, but also expect that your attractive not does not directly link to if you can get co-founder, especially in a shorter time frame.
And I will admit, actually, I had one business idea before One Coin English,
Hmm.
and that has been my own first and only failure.
Hmm. I mean,
So,
that's an impressive track record.
so after 1 month, it was like the the entrenched competition is too dirty.
Hmm.
And but yep, One Coin English, Japan Switch, scaling your company. I would say Launch Lab was a bit of a failure, but it transitioned. I same idea, switch partners, Smart Start Japan, uh, pretty good success.
Hmm. Yeah.
Cool. And oh, I guess I'll put yes. I think kind of I'll just outline like so. Yeah, with Ryosuke, he has kind of like a track record, even though he didn't have a startup track record. He did have a track record of solving problems, and I thought it was relevant for creating a startup together. And so, one time I do see a lot of people who don't find co-founders, and or they're having a hard time attracting a co-founder. And my general thought is, I think that it's if you can have a success record in maybe sales or marketing, or like existing your company, become an entrepreneur, or in my case, even though I created One Coin English, it was really when I became in charge of new business creation, Shinki Jigyo Kaihatsu. For me, that really unlocked my entrepreneurship. And so I think that's kind of what made me attractive as well. So I think having marketing or being able to get revenue from the day one, or not day one, but early on, is a really important skill. Cool. And so I guess real next we can dive into where to find a co-founder in Japan. Since I think you have some relevant experience from this from in 2025. So it's
Yeah. Um, or to find co-founders, it's like generally speaking, I have like friends in the US too who the startup is. I think it's generally speaking a little harder in Japan, just to be honest. Um, the main reason is that the number of population who would actually be willing and is starting a company is so much lower in Japan. It's basically like it's a pure population problem. It is my view. And I mean that stems from the cultural stuff to corporate structure to how people are employed, etc. The startup ecosystem. But I think that's a reality you have to face. So there's a lot of co-founders, how to find co-founders topic that's told in English from a US standpoint. Not all of them directly apply to Japan. That being said, I think in either case, in wherever you are in the world, I think the best route you could go for, and which I first went to, is your personal network. So that includes, your friends from, childhood to uh, a, a former client of yours or to colleagues, that people you met at different events in the past, like any personal network that you actually know that person from in a professional context, preferably, would actually be, I think more or less the best case scenario if you can find one. So
and
that the reason is that because you know that person, what the person's like, how they have lived their life. If you meet a completely new person, similar to the dating world, they can say something, but doesn't mean they actually are that. Um, but if it's from your personal network, you can see, that the consistency, because they can't really fake it anymore.
and
That's
our
like the
third
best, yeah. Oh, go
and,
ahead.
and our third co-founder, Asama, actually was the I was he was actually one of my connections. And he was someone I think when he was 20, he did a paid internship for me, doing some SEO projects. And at the time, I'm like, oh, I'd like to meet this dude at 26. Like if he's this smart and this good at 20, like the bro's gonna be killing it at 25, 26. And so and in his case, he worked at Lawson had a marketing agency. He also worked at WPP, which is a global marketing agency, which anyone in the marketing space probably knows WPP. And also Taboola, which is a NASDAQ I think marketing tech company.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so our third co-founder did come from the network.
How is it seeing him? I think he's 26, 5 now. Like how's it seeing him now?
I'm very impressed. It's I yeah, I would have liked to have been I was probably dicking around playing Halo at 25, 26. So I yeah, I think it's pretty cool like his level of skill at that age and I would say
Yeah.
is and he definitely shows the signs that if we were to scale or and he has experience marketing where we want to be in 2 to 3 years. And so
Yeah.
I think we have a really solid third partner, a solid triangle. And I think I'll add, sorry, just before we dive a little bit more in where to find. I really like the trio. Maybe
Mm,
because I had that experience in One Coin English and we brought on a fourth later, but
mm,
just I find having a trio is you can move so much faster than having a duo.
mm. Yeah, I totally like feel that. Like I think the pace that you and I were working versus like after Osama has came in, like pure manpower too, but like to some extent also the what's it called, like the chemical reaction, like that happens with having three of us has also helped in like the momentum building.
And really like the reduction of trial and error.
Mm,
'Cause like he knows what to do already.
Yeah, yeah.
80% of it, and we just
Yeah,
need
and yeah,
to get
and
the
this
data.
yeah, and the area that he's like is expert in like definitely helps.
Cool. And so I guess, yeah, please tell us more about, where to find a co-founder.
Yeah, so personal network again, number one. I think the other routes are if go through the existing one first, and then it might appear far-fetched. Like it might be someone you haven't talked to for years, but do not hesitate to contact that person. The idea here is that when you start a company, regardless of what kind of company it is, you're gonna have to reach out to people that you never talked to and talk to them and share that, pitch that idea and show that you're attractive, like kind of going back to the earlier point. So if you can't do that to a person that you've known, um, then you're gonna have a hard time being an entrepreneur in general. So, and it just like it many times people are more flattered than annoyed if you do that. Like you thought of that person, you asked that person, you reach out to them, you ask for coffee or dinner or lunch, whatever, and then actually told them, hey, I'm working on this. Really would love to have you on your team. Like, what do you think? They go like just like directly ask up front. They may say no, they may say yes, but it's usually a sign of flattery than like anything else. Like, like you want someone like that person. If it were me, like, oh, thanks for thinking about me for that, like your journey that you're thinking of spending your life on, right? So go do that for sure. And the result will be results. Don't be sad that people said no. I think I reached out to, I don't remember the exact numbers, but 20, 30 people in my network all said no, like in my personal network for different reasons. Like some were starting their own and it just was a completely different idea, like from what I had in mind. Some were just like uh, the they didn't really want to leave the stability of their current job. Some just didn't find the specific match to their skill set to my business. The different reasons. Don't take anything personal. It is what it is, but yeah, go ask your person at work. If you can't find anyone who would say yes to your idea initially, which was like my case, then go look for externals. And then for externals, there's different sort of avenues you can take. One is I really like those what's it called? Uh, Startup accelerators or incubators. You can find people there potentially. There are few in Japan, even for international people. There's a Y Combinator matching platforms available for anyone. You can just register, look for people, and you can look for Japan specific or even worldwide if you're, thinking about that. Um, you can go to all kinds of startup events and just go talk to people and see if they're looking for a co-founder. Oftentimes, there's a lot of people who's in similar shoes. That's another one. And those people actually know people who might be looking too. So even if that person may not directly be your candidate, they may know someone. And then lastly, I guess I can't miss out on the LinkedIn. Go check out LinkedIn and reach out to people who are interested in that. You can do a keyword search. I'm sure there's like groups that looking for co-founders. I personally haven't joined any groups, but I'm sure they are.
And you can post that you're looking for a co-founder.
Yes, you can do that too.
Maybe I got lucky, but I think that got 20,000 impressions,
Hmm.
like tons of comments, likes, and I've seen other people do it similarly on LinkedIn, and they got a
Yeah,
lot of engagement.
yeah,
Cool. And yeah, and for listeners, I've heard pretty good things about Antler as well. I know several startups who have found their co-founder through the Antler matching program. I can probably think of six startups who found their co-founder through the Antler matching program. And I think this year, I think they got around like 70 people maybe who are looking for a co-founder, and they've all been vetted in that they're available to create a startup. I'm not sure the requirement's like 20 or 30 hours a week or something like that, but they vetted the people like these people can commit. And so I think the problem, if you look like with your personal network or Y Combinator, matching program or just, posting. It's most often the times it's I think one is maybe not a match on the idea, but more often than not, it's the person is just not ready to make a startup. And so I think that's one thing really cool about the Antler program. And there's probably some other ones too, but where they check the people in advance if they can actually commit to a startup. And that pretty much eliminates 80 to 90% of the people you would be reaching out to.
Yeah, actually, I got into Antler this year. As you said, there were about 80 people from all around the world. I think they were from 40 different nationalities, all like willing to start a business in Japan. I luckily kind of have formed partnership with the co-founder and also a Samanda decide to join like 2 days in after Antler program joined. So it was a really bad timing
So
because I was
sorry, Antler.
yeah, it's so I talked to Antler and told them that one, I found a co-founder outside, and then also the business idea right now, the AI market, sort of direction-wise, may not be the best fit for what Antler is envisioning from a VC standpoint. So I didn't go through the entire process to be. I did get in, but I didn't. Unfortunately, didn't really go through the entire process because of the situation. But yeah, I know people. I made friends that are actually partner up with other people. They went through the process. They're actually like still in the process of getting funding from them. So if you're looking for international similar-minded people, definitely recommend. It's a great opportunity. There's great mentors that you can talk to, great lecturers, great resource. So yeah, go check it out if you're looking for a co-founder in Japan too.
Awesome. And this is a little bit off topic, but what was, I mean, I know the reasons, but what were your reasons for not seeking venture capital funding?
Um, I mean, two different reasons. One was business specific, another was like more personal preference. Business specific reason was AI market right now. What we're doing is it's not the most capital intensive startup like business idea to be honest, because it's really we're getting like official contracts to sell those great products from all over the world to Japanese businesses. So there's no upfront cost per se, other than some human capital costs and like some marketing. So it's not the most like VC backable business where you need to like uh, get so much resource upfront to accelerate every single thing and then accelerate your growth. It's not necessarily that business model to begin with. So there's a bit of a mismatch on what VC would want your company to be versus what AI market's actually like. Um, into the sort of growth trajectory and the goal setting that we have. Another thing is my last company, Connected Robotics, we had that was Series B I led, but until then we had finished Series A, and ours had additional investors with a 17 billion investment, both including equity and debt. But having outside investors, like as helpful as it is, it adds a lot of constraints and stress. You are, constantly I guess like it's not a bad way, but you constantly be monitored just because you are their portfolio company invested money. So yeah, I have to report to them. And many of the big decisions are you have to consult with them or at least get advice from them to make sure. And many cases you also have to get official approval from them. Um, and that was great, but kind of combined with the fact that we don't necessarily need to get funding, my decision was we'll go bootstrapped as far as we can. And if we really see a growth trajectory where if we ingest this amount of money, we'll grow like exponentially, then I think then and there we can think about funding. But I think for now, business model wise, from my past experience wise, AI market does not need VC funding.
Yep. Cool. Thank you for sharing that. And yeah, definitely in the robotic space, you definitely need to get a lot of funding in the,
Yeah,
especially deep
100%.
tech.
Yeah.
And in our case, we launched in October. I haven't even announced it on LinkedIn yet, but we have 100K yen sales. Probably get 100K this month, and with Asama joining full time in January, we're definitely gonna. see that rise and rise and rise.
Yeah.
And so, another thought too is, yeah, like you mentioned, control. And I also have kind of a network of friends who are angels
Mm.
who they could put in 15 million, 20 million yen, and we could just get one person. So that's kind of, but we would also want to get a much better valuation. And like Real said, like we can start making revenue from early on. And so that's kind of, that was, so that's kind of, you've heard real reasons. Uh, these are some of my reasons why I also think that we don't need to raise funding right now.
Yeah.
Cool. But I do, just for the listeners, with the Angel Friends, I'll probably give them an update like every quarter and just saying, hey, this is how we're doing. And we'll say just leave it at that. Or here's our update. And when it comes time for me to actually make the pitch, I've kind of warmed them up. They've seen the growth and they understand the business a little bit more. Especially if they see that the revenue is growing, I think they'll actually check out the website.
Yeah.